You're on. You're on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting for March 18th. It is 1 p.m. We're going to go ahead and get started. I would like to point your attention to the front here. Ma'am, will you stand? We have an American Sign Language interpreter. If you need any assistance, please make your way down to her. And she will be here the entire time. Now I will ask for a moment of silence for our entire public safety personnel and for the family of the fallen New Mexico State Police Officer, Justin Hare. Councilor Flores, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you. We don't have any certificates today, so we'll go right up to Jobs of the Week with Sarah Rainey, please.
Good afternoon. All right, for Jobs of the Week, we have, for the city of Las Cruces, we have an urban planner. The position starts at $53,000 and the posting closes on the 1st. We also have a juvenile justice continuum coordinator. That position starts at $24 an hour. And right now, it's a continuous posting. For the White Sands Missile Range, we have a senior office clerk. Depending on experience was the pay, and the position is open until filled. For NMSU, we have an administrative assistant. That position starts at $16.05 an hour, and the posting closes on the 20th. For Albertsons, we have a part-time retail manager. That is through the SAS Retail Services. The posting starts at $13 an hour and closes on the 11th. We also have an intake coordinator for the Central Pantry at Casa de Peregrinos. That position starts at $14 an hour and the posting closes on the 10th. Just a quick reminder of our upcoming events. We have the Mocatello Rocket. I would encourage everyone, council, anybody here, professionals within our community, please come and be an interviewer for these juniors and seniors across our city. It just helps encourage them, in coming into the workforce fields to practice their skills and get to know real, situations for interviewing. Also, we have our Spring Into Your New Career. That will be at the Las Cruces Convention Center on March 27th. We will have veteran priority the first hour, and then the public is open to the public. We will have employers there that are hiring on the spot, interviewing right then and there. So please come ready with your resumes for those positions as well. And then we have our hiring heroes, on the 1st of April. And that one is for veterans, law enforcement, for first responders, and those in the healthcare and federal contractors, those type of positions. And then we have our Spanish ones for those that speak Spanish. For any other information that anybody is interested in, please come see us at 226 South Alameda, or you can log on to employeenm.com to find all of our flyers and any information. If any of you are interested in being an interviewer at the Mocatello Rocket, coming and seeing us at any of the events, or if any of the public is interested in the career event that's coming up on the 27th, please log on to the EmployeenM. Thank you.
Thank you, as always, Sarah, for being here with us today.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. And next we'll go to Pets of the Week with Amy DeFelix.
Hello everyone, I'm Amy DeFelix, one of the rescue coordinators for the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. We'll go ahead and get started with our cat of the week. Our cat of the week this week is Luisa. Her number is 72068, and she says, "I am a sweet and loving girl currently in a foster home with other cats, and I'm doing really well with everyone. I love pets and affection, and I will roll around and act so cute just to get your attention. I'm ready for my forever home where I can be loved until the end of my days. And then we have our dog of the week. Her name is JoJo. Her number is 62528, and she says, I celebrated my first birthday here at the Animal Services Center, and my birthday wish is to find my forever home. I've never had a home of my own before, so I'd love a nice, patient, and trusting person or people to help teach me how to be a part of the family. And then we have some events going on. We have, until the end of March, we have the Mutt Madness Adoption Special, so all of our adoptions are discounted. All sterilized animals, their adoption fee is any donation amount that the adopter wishes to provide. And then unsterilized animals will be $45, and of course they will still be sterilized before going home. We do have an offsite adoption event at PetSmart this Saturday, the 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then here are all of our website links, our website ascmv.org, social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. These are all the places you can find us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Now it's our conflict of interest statement. Does any member of the city council, city manager, or any member of the city staff have any known conflict of interest with any item on the agenda today?
None by floated.
None, Graham.
None.
None McClure.
Done.
None the chair. None staff. Thank you. Now we will move on to public participation. We will have up to 3 minutes for each person. Note that there is a new timer. Don't be alarmed. It's a little bit frightening. So, but we will all get used to it together. So I'm going to start on this side, as usual, with row number 1. Please come on up. Yep, that's you. And don't forget to state your name, please.
For years, we've talked about shade in the plaza. For years.
My name is Russ Smith. Mayor, council, I have an idea, and with your permission, I'll show it on the screen.
For years, we've talked about shade in the plaza. Feasibilities have been presented to council through Vigil and Associates and by the Destination Downtown Committee without results or an action plan so far. Now, we can talk again about shade. Plants, animals, carports, patios, and even coral reefs in the sea get shade. Shade is said to be an equalizer for communities wanting access. It's certainly important in the desert Southwest. I propose building a lofty structure that shades the plaza. I propose building a structure that helps manage sun and rain. I propose building a structure that improves the community. I think it could be a catalyst for the region. A retractable shade structure protects enthusiasts and commerce at events. It would give more rain and sun protection over the calendar year. Government would reduce community disparities and services could be expanded. Please resolve to build retractable shade and rain protection in the plaza. A typical process would involve a study for choices. It would partner with experts and suppliers, often through a limited RFP. It would develop a prescription and proposal that would lead to council ratification, consistent with the city mission statement. Amenities, design, attributes, and the like get absorbed into the proposal. Our Economic Development Department is poised with history and leadership to do so. Las Cruces gets to learn how to show itself to the world as we grow. Event and celebration ideas never before seen can come alive. We continue to shine. TID funding, capital outlay, or even federal and state grant funding for communities can be brought to bear. Again, I ask, please, resolve to build retractable shade and rain protection in the plaza. Thank you.
Mayor, council, thank you for listening. In full disclosure, yes, I am a drummer. I have drummed all my life. So I put there a bit of jest about a good subject, a fun subject. retractable shade has come of age. The idea of building has been proven. The idea of the concept is finding economies, and a limited RFP could be drawn together and brought to bear to prove that it's a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I appreciate it. I'm going to suggest that you speak to Chris Favor down there. He's with our Economic Development Department, and we've had this conversation before at other TID meetings, so maybe he can give you an update.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was you on the drums then? That's supposed to
That
be
was
you.
me,
Okay.
lacking
Thank
the
you.
green shirt and the pretty eyes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First row, you're good. Second row, sir? Don't forget to state your name, please.
Good afternoon, councilors. My name is Craig Dirksen, and I'm the president of the Homeowners Association for Del Prado Condominiums. We're located just up above Doña Ana Community College. And we're only a half a block from Sam Graff Park on Sedona Hills Parkway. And our neighborhood loves that park, and it is well used. You always see kids playing in the playground with their parents there watching, teenagers playing basketball. It's really in constant use, or at least half of it is. All of those active activities take part on the western half of the park. The eastern half of the park is just grass, and it's very nice to walk through, and people like me walking my dog, I love to do that. And we do see people there playing with their dogs, not on a leash, which can be dangerous because the entire park is surrounded by streets. So my proposal or ask of the city would be to consider fencing that eastern half of the park where there's already grass, there's sidewalks, it's complete, to create an off-leash park for people who would like to bring their dogs there. My neighbor calculated that over 60 dogs regularly use that park as part of their daily exercise. And so it would be well used. The park is surrounded by literally over 1,000 homes that are within walking distance of that park. So my request would be to consider that, creating an off-leash park there by simply fencing the eastern half of that park. Councilor Flores, I believe this is in your district. I would be happy to meet with you there at the park and walk through what my proposal is. And besides that, I would be happy to answer any questions any member of the council might have.
Thank you. I'm just going to recommend that you leave your contact information with our city clerk.
I'll do that.
And then she will give it to Councilor Flores and anybody else. And I also saw our assistant city manager taking
All right.
lots of notes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up.
My name is Donna Stryker. I'd like to give something to the city clerk for everyone. It's real short and sweet. I've been watching the councilors' comments after the meetings. I'm not always able to stay because I pick up my grandkids and things like that, but after at least a couple of meetings, one of the things I took away from the council was that we as citizens and a lot of the people that I'm working with in businesses for Safer Las Cruces, we need to take some responsibility and do some things. So this flyer is just a result in just 1 week of what the group was able to come up with. We've been working with Chief Story. He had some a great presentation for our group on things that we need to do to support the police and back the blue. And so this is going to go out to as many small businesses here in Las Cruces as we can get. We have a wonderful community member, Beth Johnson, who has given us these and printed them on her own time and her own money so that we can get it out to businesses so that we can all work together for better and a safer Las Cruces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the second row. Ma'am? No? No? Third row. We'll start on this side since you're ready to go.
Good afternoon. I am Dr. Kyle Schumacher. I am managing DVM at Schumacher Veterinary Clinic on Valley Drive. I last spoke to council on February 20th in the immediate aftermath of the murder of LCPD Officer Jonah Hernandez. I am well aware that my views, my politics, and my agenda is not necessarily the same as yours, nor the same as the folks sitting in the audience next to me. But I do feel that as a group, we shared many similar and harrowing experiences and expressed our overwhelming concern regarding the ongoing problems with homelessness, illegal drugs, crime, and the daily threats to our personal and public safety. I hazard there has not been an individual who has come to stand and speak who hasn't had the realization that I, could have just as easily suffered that fatal consequence. I also feel that the majority of the business owners who have spoken made sincere efforts to be respectful and to work towards constructive solutions. I was unable to stay until the end of that meeting or to attend the next. As such, listening to the comments afterwards, I was shocked to hear how quickly some sought to deflect blame and blithely dismiss our concerns. I am acutely aware that the current situation is not the responsibility of one or all council members, and that there are numerous issues which require attention at higher levels and in different branches of government. However, I do maintain that you are responsible for the safety and the welfare of the people who live and work in your districts, even if these immediate solutions may be distant or beyond your personal control. I am grateful for the first very few efforts, weeks later, to reach out to local citizens and business owners, but these have been few and far between. I continue to deal with these issues on a daily basis. My doctors and staff are frightened. My clients are concerned for their safety. Citizens and local businesses in our area have been frankly terrorized and have suffered permanent damage as a result. My fears that I am no longer safe in my place of business, that I am unable to work and to serve the community, these should be your responsibility. I will go off script and say I do very much appreciate Councilor Bencomo approached me before the meeting, and she has made some offers to come out and meet with me, and that is much appreciated. I know that offers have been extended before, but I'll repeat it here. I would encourage any council member of city management, or other public official who has an interest in helping us to overcome these challenges to spend some time with myself or any of the other small business owners here. Honestly, I'm there after dark by myself a lot, so I'll appreciate the company. I do hope you take this personally, because I take this personally. We take this personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. Others in the third row? Third row? Okay, fourth row. No? Fourth row? I think you're the fifth row, but I think nobody else on the fourth row. Come on down.
Hello, my name is Vic Villalobos, and first of all, I'd like to say I had no idea we could do a PowerPoint presentation, so that was kind of neat to see, and look out next time because I'll probably put something together. I just want to say a couple things. I think Dr. Schumacher kind of summed it up for everybody. I do want to say that I truly appreciate Councilor Bencomo last week reached out to me. We were able to spend a little over an hour together, and I think I will say to my surprise, I think we had more in common than we did opposite of each other, and so I truly did enjoy my conversation. I do encourage all of the city council. We talked about the fact that we're all busy, but the fact that she reached out to do that was very appreciative. So I would encourage all the councilors to, take a few minutes and reach out to those people. I think I know for me it made a big difference to get a little bit of different attitude towards what's in front of me. So I do encourage that to everybody. On a completely separate note, I do want to say also that I'm the head of Mesilla Valley Search and Rescue, and I would like to say my thanks to Chief Smith, because the fire department here has always been very encouraging to us and very supportive in our training efforts. And this last weekend we did that again and had a very long, strenuous, I can say, training with the fire department. So I want to thank Chief Smith for supporting that when we're always out there. So thank you.
Thank you. And just so you know, in the future, if you do want to present a video or anything, you have to get it cleared by the city clerk first. How far in advance? About a week. Thank you. And so just contact her. So we had gone to the fifth row, and we're on the fifth row. Come on down. Please state your name.
Hi, Beverly Hogan. I'm a resident of Las Cruces. And I'm sorry that the mayor is not here right now. But I did want to address and ask you not to move public input to the end of city council meetings. Mr. Matisse suggested in response to my email, which I appreciate those of you that responded to my emails, that possibly the mayor has something else in mind, but might be a different venue, may not involve counselors, which is kind of sad. But anyhow, I just wanted to know why you decided that, why he decided that after April, all citizen input would be at the end of the council meeting. You all are elected to represent us. Freedom of speech is our First Amendment, and I really, truly value that. I'm a retired middle school and social studies teacher. I knowingly accepted that teaching job for decades, understanding that I might be exposed to harsh criticism from some parents. Just like all of you, I think when you run for politics, I don't think I'd have a thick enough skin to do that, but I did have a thick enough skin to be a school teacher in middle school. But you have to accept that people may not always be happy with what you're saying. But I am pleased to hear that many of you have responded and reached out and did talk to the people who had concerns. And that, I think, is valuable, which is, again, why we need to have something like this. I think, in many respects, it might have been a knee-jerk reaction to a couple people who spoke at that one meeting. But honestly, I think 90% of those people were giving constructive criticism. And that's how I always looked at it. When parents would suggest something to me, it's constructive criticism. I just don't think that all the citizens of Las Cruces should be punished for the mayor's attempt to partly suppress our right to free speech, knowing that citizens will then have to wait maybe 2 up to 6 hours to speak. Many of them have children or grandchildren or work. Such a rule, in effect, would remove most every citizen from ever having the right to exercise their freedom of speech at these meetings. So I'm asking you again to please ensure that public comment remains at the beginning of city council, and you have the kind of dialogue that I see here today, which I see as very positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on down.
Good afternoon, City Council. I'm here to, my name is Stan Engel, E-N-G-L-E, for the record. I am here because Mr. Roy Pata died, allegedly at the hands of a drunk driver who was speeding, last information I saw. And I was here probably a month, maybe 2 months ago, and my initial comment was that our infrastructure is actively hostile towards life. And I think this proves it. We have designed a city where, unless you are traveling in a car, and even then, you can still be unsafe because we have infrastructure that encourages our worst impulses. It encourages speeding. We have no enforcement that discourages cell phone usage, distracted driving. We have no enforcement that I can see that does anything about speed. I asked you all challenged you to go out and stand on our roads and our streets and to see how miserable it is, to see how fast traffic is, how many people are using their cell phones, how many people are speeding, and to see how many people are now driving obscenely large trucks. I feel like tanks are the next thing that's going to happen. right? The trucks have gotten so big, I'm starting to feel like we're just going to go to tanks. I feel like it's robbed our independence. You know, I've mentioned in the past at City Council that I like to take my kid to school on his bike. I want him to be independent in our community. And I feel like maybe a lot of people want that too. But unless we can do something to limit this amount of vehicular violence, I don't think that will ever happen. We are going to have a society, a community of children in this generation that are going to go from home to car to school, back to car, back to shopping, without ever actually exploring their environments because their parents, rightly so, are too scared that they might get hurt. So here I am, challenging you all again to start taking our infrastructure seriously, because it does encourage our worst impulses. It is unsafe for our children and for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. He's on the 5th row. Is there anybody else on the 5th row?
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and councilors. My name is Rick Renault, and the reason I'm here today is to recommend to not change the public comment order in council meetings unless you move it to the first item. And the first reason is that Mayor Pro Tem Ben Como did a great job shepherding the speakers at the last meeting, and in this meeting, I think you worked yourself into a job assisting the mayor. The second reason is that I observed dozens of first-timers at public comment for the past 2 years. You can tell, I was once one also, a first-timer. They have brought outlandish stories, filmed encounters, and things have still become progressively worse. Downtown business owners are again using the term fed up about the continuing crime, even after the local tragedy. And now a state police officer. I know of one downtown business owner who has to close shop and run around back here to attend the public comment. Close shop. So, and I can go a little bit off script here, but I need to let the new councilors know, and the mayor, I hope he was here, about the Desert Hope Apartments. The housing first model does not work. We've proven it. It has to be intervention first. I have an office near the Desert Hope Apartments. My wife was trapped in my office. It was my wife, a fentanyl guy, and her phone for 20 seconds. Not good for mental health. A direct quote from a resident who wrote a book on his experiences at the Desert Hope Apartments. This place has become the very pit of hell, full of drugs and drug use, a cesspool of mentally ill persons. Mental illness and drug use are the main causes of the local tragedy. And now the Crisis Triage Center has closed. A whole lot of fanfare about a year ago. The city and county who ultimately managed the center and the Desert Hope Apartments through the Mesilla Valley Public Housing Authority. I learned that from an interchange with Becky Graham. I found out who managed the Desert Hope Apartments. Bear responsibility along with every local rep and senator for the tragedy experienced here. So I'm getting back to the first recommendation is keep public comment first. Thank you.
We're still on the 5th row. Anybody else on the 5th row? Okay, 6th row.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council. First of all, I would like to recognize Katrina and Grace for a superb job.
Please state your name, sir.
Juan Garcia. For a superb job at planning and executing the Neighborhood Leadership Academy. All citizens should participate and learn of the different functions of the city government. Now let's take a trip down memory lane to 3 April 2023, when these chambers were packed, standing room only, with the additional police presence and the who's who of progressive politics. Senators, commissioners, and even the county clerk were here to, quote, pay homage and shower the women of the council with adulation and praise. Senator Hamlin insulted men with her misandrous comment, referring to men as petite Richards. No issue. She attempted to link the women of the council with Rosa Parks and other female luminaries. All good. What prompted this massive turnout? About 1 April, one of our councilors, who frequently speaks of misinformation, practiced the same on public media to incite a progressive mass reaction in these chambers. The coalition is going to force the council to resign. Public comment lasted about 3 hours and 15 minutes, with total session about 4 hours and 29 minutes. Was anyone insulted? No. Did our progressive friends have a right to honor the women of the council? Absolutely. Did the council feel they were being bashed? No. Did the mayor attempt to suppress public comment? No. Fast forward to 20 February. About 15 businesses and victims of Las Cruces' criminal element petitioned their counselor for help. The response by the council was to circle the wagons and express how there was a bashing and they were being picked on. And the mayor, who in my opinion, presented his proposed change to public input in order to suppress or reduce public input that was not, quote, friendly to the council. It is not a secret the council doesn't like criticism. This, in my opinion, is retaliation. Yes, retaliation. Citizens honor the council. It's okay, it's great. Citizens petition their leaders to address crime and its immediate retaliation. We're going to punish you. We're going to try to suppress. Both groups of citizens have the right to speak to their elected officials. Is there a bit of hypocrisy here? Of course there is. The optics are horrible, but your message is very clear. Thank you.
Next on number 6.
Council members, my name is Eddie Thomas. It's a shame that Mayor Enriquez is not here because he's primarily the person I wanted to address, but nonetheless, this move to move the public input to the back of the city council agenda will give the appearance of evasion. It's not a good look. It'll produce the opposite of what you so desperately need right now: transparency. It will look like you're trying to shield the city council from the big bad constituency, the very people they need to hear from. I'm sorry if it's not always nice and sweet, but it's the job you signed up for. So I would tell Mayor Enriquez to resist his first impulse as a fireman and protect you all from the heat. You need to hear from the people that you represent. These people are scared and angry, and they have a right to be. Despite what the general crime statistics show, we still feel it when crime makes us the victim. And you all would say that it would hurt you as well if you were the victims. It hurts when you've got to shut your business down, or when a loved one becomes a victim of a mugging or some other carjacking incident or some kind of violence. You all need to do something about that.
I would suggest you take Chief Story's recommendations on what to do to steer the city back to a safe condition. I would heartily ask for you all to consider that so that something positive can be done in the city to make us feel safe. Thank you very much.
We're still on row 6.
Good afternoon, Council, esteemed members of the Council. My name is Jorge Aguirre. And I'm a Las Cruces resident, small business owner and employer. And I'm here because a man on a bicycle was killed by a driver last week or so. This driver did not kill a person out of spite or because they were evil, but because they were doing what the infrastructure naturally incentivizes drivers to do, which is to go as fast as possible to their destination. That's how most people drive. And that accident could have happened to any of us. Because the problem is car-centric infrastructure. Our city has been built for decades for cars, but not for citizens. Our roads are wide, they even have a shoulder, but they make drivers feel comfortable, even safe when speeding. But our lanky sidewalks, built adjacent to the road, even when there's land not to do that, make it dangerous to exist outside of a car in our city. Most citizens are coerced into sacrificing a large portion of their income to purchase a car. Cars cost a fortune. I think they exceeded $12,000 to own a new car last year. And they come with additional costs like insurance and financing and maintenance and other hidden costs like tolls and speeding tickets and parking permits that consume a significant portion of most people's income. Some people even get enormous tires. Similarly, most cities also spend a large portion of their budget just on maintaining their existing asphalt. And it's never enough. Just ask anyone. Nobody likes their pavement in front of their house. Cities spend a lot of money to build, expand, and maintain free roads. And the citizens have to spend a lot of money to use those free roads. Everybody loses, but it isn't all about money. Car-centric infrastructure is a failed strategy because it produces high infrastructure maintenance costs combined with lower tax revenue for the city. Not to mention the contaminants and the microplastics and other less visible consequences and deeper topics that I don't know enough about. Lastly, in the last session, amidst debates over zoning changes in the Mesquite neighborhood, residents opposed the zoning change. And the reasons they listed got my attention. They didn't want increased auto traffic, or changes in the traffic pattern, or car noise, or traffic nuisance. They said they were opposed to the zoning change, but really, they were opposed to cars. They didn't want to be honked at and rushed in their own neighborhood, and to have to dodge speeding drivers. Many weren't necessarily opposed to business, but to the increased noise and nuisance of car traffic. Pedestrian traffic often increases retail sales because people have the chance to see things that they wouldn't have seen if they zoom by on a car. Am I done? Well, I urge the council to consider decentering the car from our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. We're still on number 6. Come on down. Don't forget to state your name. And your companion's name.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is William Gilman, and this is my daughter, Genevieve Gilman. She's the cutest little baby ever. No offense to other babies, but had to be said. Yeah, so I'm here to talk about, obviously, there are a lot of challenges facing our city, as always seems to be the case. And in addition to very legitimate safety concerns, about homelessness and mental health abuse, or mental health issues and drug abuse. As my colleague pointed out, a person was hit and killed just while in a crosswalk on the sidewalk. They were also on a bike. And that's what I want to talk about. I didn't really prepare very well today, but I'll get there somehow. Yeah, so the Las Cruces city plan, or the development plan for Las Cruces, says it wants to prioritize vibrant neighborhoods. But we can't really have vibrant neighborhoods if people can't walk down the sidewalk safely. I live up by Roadrunner, and that road, at least once a week, you hear drag racing, and it's just really, really easy to go fast. For a person with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When you build something that looks like a highway through a residential neighborhood, people unconsciously treat it that way. Even myself, going 40 miles an hour there, where the speed limit is 35 allegedly, feels like you're just creeping along. And so that is a huge part of the problem. And the sidewalks are so narrow, and they're right next to the road. It's not a good scene. Even if you're on the sidewalk, even for drivers, I'm worried that somebody's just gonna trip and fall in front of me anytime they're on the sidewalk. There was a walking field trip that one of the schools took, and they had to have 2 police cars just slowly cruising along by them because we don't trust drivers to drive safely. Not because our drivers are terrible people, but that's just how we built the system, is that it just makes it so easy. So I think we need to address that, right? People lament about how kids spend all their times on the phone and all their time on the internet, but parents don't actually let them go outside because we don't trust them to cross the street. Not because the kids aren't capable or responsible, but because we just don't trust the drivers. We need to do something about that. There's a proposal to expand the sidewalk on the corridor between Solano and Main, Lowman and Amador. I think the city needs to move on that. We need to make this city more walkable, more bikeable, because that's good for business. Those restaurants are gonna get a lot more business with the foot traffic. The neighborhoods are actually going to be vibrant if people can walk to services nearby. And as my colleague said, you gotta fork over a bunch of money to get a car. I was just run off the road on the interstate. My car was totaled. I had to buy a new one. I had to spend $27,500 to get a new car. That could have easily been a down payment on a house, but instead, that's gonna have to wait because we prioritize cars over our citizens.
Thank you. Anybody else on row 6, 7?
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Parrott. I'm a resident of District 6. I wish to address public input, and if I have time, I might address the vehicular situation. It deeply saddens me that 2 letters to the editor in this week's bulletin portray citizens exercising their constitutional rights of redress as a jovial, inconsequential, and laughable matter. Do you require the Constitution of the state of New Mexico to force you to allow us to have public input, or do you want to do it because it's the right thing to do? Is moving public input to the end of your meetings going to be the first step of eliminating it totally? Please keep your public input at the beginning of your meetings. Thank you. And regarding the vehicle situation, it is very much the people driving the vehicles who are responsible for their actions, the same way it is for the people who carry and own firearms to be responsible for their actions. It is not the gun, it is not the car. Thank you, and God bless.
Row 7? Anybody else? Row 8? 9? Anybody else on this side? Come on down.
Greetings. John Castillo Guerra. I'm a new resident of Las Cruces, and I came here for the nice weather and a nice-sized town to be proximal to the Chihuahuan Desert, which intrigues me a great deal. It's a beautiful place, and I like the people I get generally a good feel here. I've certainly witnessed some unsettling scenes around Las Cruces as I've moved about, especially up and down Valley and Main and other parts of the city. This incident, this tragic incident that resulted in the death of Officer Hernandez, as well as his assailant, is a very sad situation that I really can't stop thinking about. And as I read about the incident, I learned that the assailant, Mr. Silva, he appeared to be setting up camp for the night, and he was seen on a surveillance video by someone in an office somewhere, and a decision was made that he needed to move, and so an officer was dispatched to his location to carry out that task. And it obviously did not go the way the officer intended. Probably didn't go the way Mr. Silva intended. It was a tragic situation that we cannot help but reflect on. And when we reflect on this situation, we see this enormous disparity of wealth within the city. Again, an unsettling thing to see as you drive around Las Cruces and you go up into these ritzy subdivisions with big houses on sprawling lots with perfectly manicured landscapes of native plants, xeriscaped beautifully, really attractive places. And then you just go a few miles downhill and you see people without housing, without food, without clean clothes, and you have to wonder, how did we get to this point? This disparity in wealth, this inequality in Las Cruces is not unique to Las Cruces.
That's your time, sir.
And I'll just conclude by saying that is the core of the issue, and we cannot
Thank you.
police our way out of this problem of inequality.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side? Okay. Oh, do we have one more person? Okay, come on down.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Landino. I'm really not prepared to say anything, but after listening to comments, it's just, I'm disappointed that the mayor's not here, because I would like to ask him to not move the public input to the end of the meetings. You know, the Supreme Court's listening to arguments today about censorship from big tech, and I believe that that's, when you move the comments, public comments, to the end of the meetings, that's basically what you're trying to do, is censor us. Because a lot of us don't have time to come and wait that long. A lot of us have to work. I have to work. I come here on my lunch hour. You know, and I feel like it's censorship. And I really wish you would rethink that. And as to some of the comments about, you know, being afraid to walk down the street, I can't walk down the street in my neighborhood because there's people on fentanyl or drugs or whatever, and they're screaming. I hear them Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. I'm afraid to go out and walk in my neighborhood. You know, and it's not because of the cars, it's because of the drug problem, and it's not because of homeless people. And the homeless people, well, part of it is, but when you talk about the homeless people, it's, a lot of it is because of a lack of personal responsibility. I mean, they don't want to follow the rules. They don't want to work because we're going to give them a basic guaranteed income. Now, who you know, who wants to go to work when you can sit at home and smoke pot and do whatever? You know, I mean, it's just, it's silly to me. So that's really what I wanted to say.
Okay, we're gonna move on to this side. Come on down.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor, staff, and public. My name is Yoli Diaz. I urge you to investigate Memorial Medical Center's MMC abdication of its legal responsibility to prove access, even to indigents, to professional hospital care. MMC leases a hospital from Doña Ana County and City of Las Cruces. It is a New Mexico safety net care pool hospital operated by LifePoint Health, which is owned by private equity firm Apollo Global Management. This lease contains requirements regarding mental health care and provision of care to indigents, which MMC has too often ignored. As both public entities and landlords, the city and county have a duty to oversee MMC and hold it to the conditions stated in the lease. The public interest demands a thorough investigation of the lease between Doña Ana County, City of Las Cruces, and Memorial Medical Center, and compliance with NMSA 1978, Chapter 27, Article 5. As you know, I have been advocating for access to needed health care, especially cancer treatment of chemotherapy and radiation at Memorial Medical Center since my first official meeting in October 2021 with County Manager Macias that included then Mayor Ken Miyagashima and Doña Ana County Health and Human Services Director Jamie Michael. I followed up with email communication, requests for calls to action, solutions, and more. I have done research and requested IPRA's record requests. I am concerned and dissatisfied with county managers and city managers' inaction, their duty to take action, the communication and findings. Therefore, as there has been no action provided to me to resolve access to needed health care or a direct written navigation for all Doña Ana County residents to access needed health care at Memorial Medical Center, I am providing you the courtesy to know that I'm distributing a letter urging to investigate, including submission to federal entities and U.S. senators investigating Apollo Global Management. My concerns are described. It includes that in our disenfranchised area, high poverty area, with only 3 for-profit hospitals, of these 3, 2 are major U.S. health systems, of these same 3, 2 are owned by private equity firms, and of these same 3, 2 are rated the top 5th and highest charge-to-cost ratio hospitals in New Mexico in a national report. Memorial and Mountain View have high charge-to-cost ratios in that report. 3 Cruces wasn't in the report. Memorial and 3 Cruces are owned by private equity firms. These hospitals help New Mexico have the highest proportion of private equity-owned hospitals in the nation, 38%. Focus is maximizing profits and minimizing patient care. The only real action I know is that my advocacy in Albuquerque Journal article reached senior financial investigative reporter for NBC Universal from New York City, Gretchen Morganson, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. I look forward to her media regarding Memorial Medical Center because I know that it will include more issues than what I advocate for. Thank you.
Thank you, Yoli. Yes, you're cordially invited. April 8th, we have a work session, April 8th with MMC. Thank you. Right here at 1 o'clock. Second row? Oh, that was the second row. Third row? All staff. Fourth row? Fifth row? Sixth row? Yes. Yep. You raised your hand, ma'am. Oh, sir. Yes, come on down.
Good afternoon.
You can move the microphone, sir. There you go.
My name is Sidney Webb, and I'm a long-term Las Cruces resident. Worked for many years here, and now I'm retired and a member of the Audubon Society. And I want to bring up the topic of Veterans Park and the construction that's ongoing at this time. And I want to say that it looks like a great project, but as they got started, it decimated a lot of environment used by the birds, and it was very hard in a spring, in a migrating situation on the roadrunners and the quail and it's an ongoing project. And I'm here with Dolores Bernal, who may come up to the speakers forum in a bit, but we would like the city to think about this issue and be sure that in the future they do everything they can to save the birds. And what I would have to say is, on the one hand, I think we could have done it better this time around, and saving the birds is very important, not just to Audubon Society, but the world in general. On the other hand, I think the project of the Veterans Park is a great project, and it's been under review for almost 5 years now, and it's going to add a pond, it's going to add more space for the park, and I think it's a great project, and I don't want you to stop it. And what maybe we can learn from this in the future is that when there is similar project being considered, that we use the same intervention as on federal project and have a review before it begins so that we can mitigate any property destruction. And this is something the next speaker may speak about. But I have one last word for everybody, and I want you to write this down because it'll keep going in all the time, and that is, don't forget the birds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can't see without glasses now. My name is Dolores Bernal. I'm a resident of Las Cruces, District 3. I'm a cybersecurity professional. I work for a company based out of DC. But I was a former journalist. I used to work for the Sun News, and I used to cover NMSU back in the early 2000s. The only person I remember from the city council from back then was Mr. Matisse.
Thanks.
So birds are singing in backyards and front yards of people's homes in Las Cruces. Spring is here. And from mid-March to late May, these birds, including roadrunners, reproduce by laying eggs just beneath desert shrubs all around us. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know when roadrunners' breeding season is, and it shows. The expansion of Veterans Park is taking place right now, at the height of mating season for roadrunners and quail. And over 2 acres of their habitat has been bulldozed, destroying countless nests and eggs. To prevent such a lapse in judgment on the part of officials who approve these projects, I and others, including Sid, are asking you today, members of the City Council, to seriously begin requiring environmental impact studies or assessments before approving public and private construction projects. Before greenlighting construction, you should be more informed. An environmental impact study will provide you with crucial information you need to lessen the impact on our native species, including the roadrunner. This is not about stopping construction. Let me repeat that again. This is not about stopping construction. This is about lessening the impact on our wildlife. It's about minimizing impact on our wildlife. You can learn more about the benefits of these types of studies on our website, savetheroadrunner.org, savetheroadrunner.org. You can't continue to blindly approve projects without taking into consideration the wildlife that makes Las Cruces unique. This is very important. Why should we wait until species are in danger? Why should we wait until we hear from experts that we only have 100 roadrunners left, that we need to preserve them? We shouldn't wait. We should act now. I invite you to be a proactive government that thinks ahead, a proactive government that other cities, counties, and states can follow as an example for good stewardship of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you. 6th row, 7th row.
My name is Fred Huff, and I want to talk about moving the public input to the end of the meeting. I kind of get it. We're talking at you, and then at the end of the meeting, you're talking at an empty chamber. I did listen to the council's comments on the last March 4th public meeting. I was very impressed with Councilor McClure's suggestions for a legislative team, because in my opinion, we probably have one of the greatest police chiefs that Las Cruces has ever had sitting here on the dais today. And he's made some really good suggestions to help get the city back on track. And the council, and in that March 4th comments, council said most of those suggestions are out of your control. Okay, I accept that, I buy that. It's at the state level. Well, you all have the biggest voice of anybody in this room. Councilor McClure suggested a legislative team. Councilor Flores kind of backed that up. I think that's a great idea. Councilor Flores had mentioned disappointment over SB 16 dealing with the competency issue, that failed. Maybe a little bit of a pre-planning on your part and using your voice to talk to not only our local state representatives, because you can talk to them anytime, but talk to them, also have a plan during session where you go up there. I remember one of you mentioned it was quite chaotic. And maybe for confusing, especially I love Councilor McClure's comment, this was her first rodeo. That gets interesting. Go in with the plan. Go in with some action. You all have some great ideas. Let's live up to it, or step forward with them. Chief Story has some great ideas. Let's do something there. Councilor Bencomo mentioned a panhandling ordinance. Let's get one in works that meets constitutional muster and go from there. While we're doing that, let's address the abandoned grocery cart issue. Get all that litter off of our street. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Plenty of other cities have done plenty of other stuff. Let's borrow their ordinances and go down the road. Thank you.
I think we were on row 8.
Good afternoon, councilors. I'm Peter Goodman. Listening to Mr. Huff, one of the things I thought was that despite all the heat and the acrimony, I think some light is being shed by both sides or all sides, however you want to put it, and people are beginning to recognize that you folks want to do the best for the city. That many of these things are not within your power. Many of the things that Chief Story has quite sensibly recommended are either in progress or are beyond the state level. So I think that's progress of a sort. I want to agree, I want to disagree with the mayor. I think without speculating on his motives, I think it's unwise to move public comment later on. I can understand some motives, including the fact that we're an hour into this meeting and nobody's doing agenda business yet. So if I were here on some agenda item, I'd probably be impatient. But I think this current situation is the best mix between getting your business done and hearing from the public. I want to welcome John and his mention of inequality as the base problem or the base cause of homelessness. It's in my view, the current abuse of our capitalist system. And I think that gives a lot of us a basic sympathy with the homeless. I disagree with Caroline and think the bulk of them are people who either are not quite competent to run and keep a household, or have, one paycheck has put them homeless. On the other hand, I think I'm progressive, like many of the councilors. We are beginning to see that this is a red alert. What people are suffering, obviously, the situation with Jonah Hernandez, and I think you folks are beginning to do the right things about that. And I hope the public's beginning to see that and maybe try to limit some of their comments to good ideas as opposed to, well, you're a progressive, so I don't like you. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, anybody else on row 8? 9.
City councilors and mayor, pro tem. My name is Lena Smith. My little brother and I attend class in the downtown mall, and we frequently ride the city bus to get there. I come before you today with a list of things my brother and I have seen and experienced, both on the bus and in the downtown area. On the bus, there have been several people that were acting like they were on drugs. There was a drunk person at a bus stop that tried to prevent the bus from leaving, and there was a man on the bus with us that was yelling at the other passengers. In the downtown area, we have seen graffiti, refuse, broken windows, a man with a sign that said "need weed," people illegally smoking cannabis in public in the plaza, and a man screaming while kicking and whacking a wall. Our class in the downtown is a mixed ages class, with children as young as 9. Numerous times out the window during our class, we have seen 2 men giving each other pills, drinking hard alcohol shots, smoking cannabis, and trying to smoke what was probably crack or meth. The smell of cannabis has entered the classroom. One day when we were going to our class, there was a man standing on the doorstep of the building in which our class is situated. He was smoking cannabis, yelling, and gesticulating. My little brother and I quickly backtracked, hoping that he had not seen us. We walked around the block and entered the building through the back door. There was a young employee inside with a broomstick to defend himself if necessary. Another day, there was an attempted theft in the building while we were having class. On another occasion, the mother of one of the children in our class was accosted by a vagrant while she was trying to leave. These instances are becoming more frequent over time. I'm calling on all of you to please make dealing with crime a top priority. Our community is counting on you to make Las Cruces a safe place for kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. City councilors and Mayor Pro Tem Mancomo, my name is Sarah Smith. When my daughter told me she wanted to speak to you today, I thought you might want to hear her perspective. And she did write that comment. Go homeschooling. As you can imagine from her comments, I'm very concerned about the safety of my children as well as other families in the downtown mall. You have open usage of illegal drugs as well as vagrants accosting and harassing people. Business owners from this area have also come before you to ask for help, including Patricia from the Little Shop on Main, who has suffered repeated vandalism, trespassing, stalking, harassment, all of these at her store by vagrants. You may also recall the owner of Dwell Yoga Studio, whose employee was attacked with rocks thrown at her car and threatened with being raped and killed. I know you are paying for security in this area, but this is clearly not enough. I know there are issues with laws at the state level, and I know you don't want to incarcerate our way out of this situation. However, are you able to potentially rework some of our local city ordinances to require mental health or drug treatment as an option in lieu of jail time? Will you please tell us what steps you are taking to make substance abuse and mental health treatment more available right here in Las Cruces? We also need to learn from the mistakes of the Desert Hope Affordable Homeless Housing Project and not repeat them. Will you please make sure that the upcoming Amador Crossing Homeless Housing Project is aimed at rehabilitating people's lives instead of enabling them to continue down the path of self-destruction and drug addiction? My other concern today is related to the mayor's plan to move public input during your meetings. I agree with the previous commenter that Mayor Pro Tem Bencomo has shown this method works really well and can be managed very well, and I appreciate your cordiality in doing so. Whether it is intended to or not, if the mayor moves public comments to the end of your meetings, this will suppress the public's ability to give input. The length of your meetings is unpredictable. You are all being paid to be here for this meeting, but we are all having to miss work and family duties to be here, and we cannot afford to sit here for many hours in order to speak. The previous mayor allowed anyone to speak during the public input period, and that made it where people who wanted to speak about agenda items but could not stay long also had an opportunity to speak at the beginning of the meetings. That method worked very well for supporting the public in being able to speak. I wish Mayor Enriquez was here today, but I will ask him virtually. Mayor Enriquez, if you want to make sure the public has a chance to hear the council comments in person, will you please move the council comments to the beginning of the meeting right after public input? This would be a reasonable compromise that would allow the public to continue to bring our concerns to you as the leaders who are elected to represent us. Thank you for your consideration.
Anybody else on this side? Okay, that wraps up public participation, and we will move on. Just kidding, I have to read a closed meeting statement, and it's very long, so bear with me. Closed meeting statement. The Las Cruces City Council met in closed session at 10:05 a.m. March 11th, 2024. The following members were in attendance: Mayor Enriquez, Councilor McClure, Councilor Graham, Councilor Corrin, and Councilor Flores. Staff present was Ifo Pili, City Manager, Linda Samples, City Attorney, Chief Jeremy Story, Christine Rivera, City Clerk, Ikani Tamepao, ACM, Sonia Delgado, ACM, Barbara Bencomo, CAO, and outside counsel Luis Robles and Bonnie Dewitt. The meeting adjourned at 11:35 a.m. Statement for the record: the Las Cruces City Council met in closed session and only discussed those limited items as stated in the posted notice. Do I have to read the rest of it? Wow, okay. The purpose of the closed session meeting is 1, to discuss pending litigation regarding Francisco Estrada v. City of Las Cruces, and number 2, to discuss pending litigation regarding the estate of Teresa Gomez versus the City of Las Cruces. Thank you. Now, can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved by Flores.
Second, Graham.
Thank you.
This is on the motion to accept the agenda as presented. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christine. And first item on the agenda today is 8.1, resolution number 24-096, a resolution authorizing the City of Las Cruces to accept grant awards for various city departments through an amendment to the city's adopted fiscal year 2024 budget. And we have...
Move to approve, Graham.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second, Corin.
Thank you. Discussion, and I think we have Joe Padilla.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors. Jacqueline Rubalcaba, Budget and Grant Administrator. I'm going to introduce Joe Padilla, Interim Budget Analyst. It's his first Budget Council presentation.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, and city staff. My name is Joe Padilla, Budget Analyst with the City of Las Cruces. Today, I'm bringing forth the resolution to accept various grants for the city. The Franklin Institute has awarded the Quality of Life Department $3,500 with monies to be used for staff time, materials, trainings, and to support the implementation of the Mission to Mars program. The New Mexico State Library has awarded the Quality of Life Department $20,705 with monies to be used towards library collections, staff salaries, professional development, equipment, and other operational expenditures associated with the delivery of library services. The New Mexico Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department has awarded the Parks and Recreation Department $750,000 with the required $750,000 match, which has already been budgeted, with monies to be used for the demolition and construction of Apodaca Park. Before you are council options, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Anybody from the public? Easy peasy. Good job, Joe.
Thank you.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 24-096. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Okay, we have item 8.2, resolution number 24-097, a resolution approving a real estate purchase agreement between the City of Las Cruces and Lutheran Church Extension Fund, Missouri Synoid, for the purchase of 2 parcels of land totaling 21.15 acres located at the southeast corner of Motel Boulevard and Bruins Lane for the purchase price of $1,815,000 and closing costs of $4,000, totaling $1,819,000 in accordance with provisions of LCM 1997, Section 21312, and amend the city adopted fiscal year 2024 budget.
Move to approve, Graham. Second, Corin.
Thank you. And we have Sarah Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Sarah Gonzalez with Economic Development. This is for the request to purchase property located on the southeast corner of Motel Boulevard and Bruins Lane. Property is approximately 21 acres in size. They are 2 adjoining vacant parcels that are zoned R4, which is multifamily high density, and then C3 commercial high intensity. Here's a vicinity map of the subject properties. As you can see highlighted in red and blue, these would be the 2 different parcels. It is surrounded by the Field of Dreams, Mayfield High School, High Noon Soccer Field, as well as the Legends West subdivision. The property went out and received 2 different appraisals. The first appraisal came back at $1.43 million. The second appraisal came in at $2.116 million. With that, staff negotiated the price to $1.815 million, including with closing costs. The benefits for the city in purchasing this property is it does follow the city's strategic plan, it does follow Elevate Las Cruces, and then it does encourage and follow the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. There are 3 different trails that are surrounding these areas as far as La Llorona, the outfall channel, and the Mesilla Drain. So all of this will provide some kind of connectivity to this park, as well as the park's trails that are currently located within Legends West subdivision. If approved, there will be a budget requested as far as the adjustment for the purchase price and closing cost, which come from the Park Impact Fee Fund, $1.819 million. With that, here are council's options. I stand for any questions, as well as the Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Bingham, is here as well.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Questions? Yes, Councilor McClure.
Just had a quick question. I know that there's been a huge demand for soccer fields. Might that be something that might be incorporated in this land, especially with all the soccer that's going around there?
You can come on up to the podium. Don't forget to state your name.
Stephen Bingham, Parks and Rec Director, for the record. Yes, Councilor McClure, that is one of the items that we are looking at and pursuing the possibility of. There's really, this piece of property provides us multiple opportunities to consider and could meet a broad range of needs. And it was important for us to take this piece of property off the market at this point, because there's limited land over in that area.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. I just wanted to say how excited I am for the potential that this land has for our parks facilities, and can't wait to get started on that process for what this might look like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you?
No, I just put
you?
it on.
Okay.
I just think for the folks who remain, which is mostly staff, I see. Just as a side note, I want to sort of give some context for the idea of park impact fees. That is, on all new development, when a home is built, those folks pay into a park. In case you don't know, those folks pay into a park impact fee. That fund can then only be used for certain types of land acquisition for parks. And so I say this as the place where I know that development happens in my district and folks sort of whinge at us, but this is part of the collective sort of goal of thinking about parks across the city. And so just in case you wonder where this money comes from, it comes from every home that's built pays into the Park Impact Fee Fund. And that's how we sort of do that for the public's information, in case that isn't clear. So, sorry. Thanks.
No, don't be sorry. Thank you. That's good clarification. Did you want to add anything? Okay.
No.
All right, thank you. I think we're, oh, any members of the public? Okay, Christine.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 24-097. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Oh, that's me. 8.3. Resolution number 24-098, a resolution approving the request for a variance to Chapter 26 of the Las Cruces Municipal Code to allow Love's Travel Stop not to be required to build sidewalks along 2 roadways in the Las Cruces Innovation Industrial Parks. And we have Dr. Tim Pitts. And can I get a motion to discuss? Motion?
So moved. McClure.
Thank you.
Second, Corin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is, as you say, this is Love's Travel Stop out at the industrial park. And I gave a long history of what went on out there over the past 40 years, I guess it is, that has been there. We won't rehash that today. We'll just talk about the issue at hand. So we got a request from Love's. Love's is completely demolishing their property. They're adding a very large area of additional land. I think it amounts to about 16 or so, 17 acres in total, that they will be developing a much larger travel stop along with some truck maintenance facilities and so on. So they're investing quite a bit into our industrial park. Their request was that that they not be required to build the sidewalks that the Las Cruces Municipal Code requires along their development. They believe the sidewalks are unnecessary because otherwise we do not have sidewalks in the industrial park. And they also believe that encouraging walking in that environment is dangerous. They have large trucks and there's not facilities there to protect pedestrians and so on. You might wonder why we are bringing this to City Council. This is normally the type of hearing that we would have at Planning and Zoning, and then only on appeal would it come here. But for some reason, in the history of Las Cruces, we had our sidewalks chapter included in Volume 1 of the Municipal Code, not in Volume 2. Volume 2 is your Land Development Code. So since it's in Volume 1, you may have noticed in the past we've done other kind of weird little things that you had to decide on, like making noise after 7 o'clock or things like that. It's just because those things were not included in the Land Development Code, so we couldn't take it to another board. You're the proper body to hear this. And to explain Chapter 26, this is it's a strange little chapter to read if you want to take some time in the evening needing to catch up on some sleep. But on new sidewalk construction, property owners are required to build those. This is not, unless the city is building the street, the property owner is required to build the sidewalks. And we require sidewalks on every street in the city, except for this list of again, kind of some weird ones. Obviously, dirt streets make some sense, and the single-loaded or limited access streets make sense. But the cul-de-sacs serving fewer than 17 homes, we don't need to build a sidewalk on that. I find that odd myself. But the city council can always say you don't need to build sidewalks. That's always been within city council's purview to make that decision. And then the property owner is responsible to build these sidewalks. If they're developing a property, they have to build it before they occupy the building. So before we issue their certificate of occupancy. But there's also another thing in here for your edification. City council can say to any property in the city that's already developed to the property owner they need to build their sidewalks, and they have 60 days to build sidewalks. That's a state statute, probably a little-known state statute that's available to you. So it's out there, and just so you know where these things are coming from. Now, going forward, we are proposing to move this chapter, or at least these provisions of this chapter, into the Land Development Code, so that in the future these decisions would be made either by the Development Review Committee or by the Planning and Zoning Commission before it would come here to you on appeal. So there would be a decision. Today you won't have a decision, you're going to have to make the decision. Why do we say we want sidewalks? Well, we in the entire city, Elevate Las Cruces makes a big point of the importance of walkability and alternative modes of transportation and having sidewalks available. The Las Cruces Innovation and Industrial Park Plan talks about alternative transportation methods. It is a little obscure on the issue of sidewalks, but it does talk about wanting to have the ability to get around the industrial park with alternative methods. That means bicycling, walking, transit, and so on. And then recently you passed your complete streets ordinance so that the city staff are required when we build new roads to include sidewalks and other forms of transportation in the road construction. So this is the first thing that maybe you should think about when considering this issue, is that as we get to the Innovation Park, it's less clear that sidewalks are wanted, but definitely we want them in the city, and definitely we want to consider the pedestrians and alternative transportation methods. But the overlay, the actual code doesn't talk about sidewalks in the industrial park. So that's where we go to Chapter 26 to require the sidewalks. Just a map to show you what we're talking about now. You'll see here is the current Love's Travel stop on the southwest corner of Crawford Boulevard, which is the main street when you get off at the airport and go south. And Robert Larson, I'm basketballed out, I'm thinking Robert Morris, but we're not Robert Morris, Robert Larson Boulevard here. And for Love's, you'll see this blue line here. This represents the sidewalk that they would be expected to build. It's about almost 1,900 feet long is that sidewalk. And that would be under our code, that's required. This is the new area. You'll see that it is currently under construction. They're going to eventually demo this whole area over here and rebuild. So this will be completely redone over the next year or so. As a side note, and something that I think you should keep in mind, this property over here in the southeast corner is also being proposed for development. Allsups has put in a plan for a new convenience store and gas station here on the southeast corner. They also are expected to build their sidewalks. They have included their sidewalks in their plan and are willing to build them. Love's is saying they would prefer not to build them. And maybe you can understand the difference between them. This is 1,800 feet. Allsups altogether is about 800 feet, so a little less than half as much. Okay, and then you can see here's our Welcome to Las Cruces sign, and this is an area that we've invested quite a bit of capital improvement money in over the past few years, and probably will invest some more in the future. Let's take a look at, this is an overhead view. I zoomed in closely on Crawford to get an idea of what that road looks like. So this is a developed portion. You'll see on both sides they are already developed. You'll notice we have the width of asphalt, and you'll notice a very narrow. It's sort of a curb, but it's more of a flush concrete that protects the edge of the pavement and the edge of the asphalt. It is not a sidewalk though. It's only about a foot wide or so. It's one of the alternative cross sections that can be used in the city. We could easily build sidewalks along here, But keep in mind, there is not a curb and gutter here. So if you're walking on a sidewalk that was built flush with the street, you're right. You know, there's nothing to stop it, to stop a truck or a car from coming across. So it could be done, and I think, you know, we should think about that, but it wouldn't be a problem putting the sidewalk in here. It's just whether that's something you think is appropriate to do. When you get over to Robert Larson, it's a little different situation. This is really kind of the frontage road for Interstate 10, and it's built as a much more rural road. You'll see that it has asphalt shoulders rather than concrete. There would not be a way to build a sidewalk flush with this effectively. You probably need to build the sidewalk over here a little bit further out, and it will cause some problems with erosion. I have Mike Kinney here, who's our development engineer, could talk a little bit if you're interested in how that would be affected by building that sidewalk. So probably a difficult thing to do without having erosion problems. We've asked for this in other areas of the city, but it's a problem. The code does not require them to build curb and gutter. That's not a part of the code requirement. Requirement says build sidewalk. If you build a sidewalk, it just gets flooded over and silted over and so on. It can be a problem. And so I just bring you to really what staff has been considering, and we don't really have a direct recommendation for you, but I think I have probably 3 recommendations for you, and that is, you know, staff has to behave in accordance with the code, and the code does require the sidewalks in this case, so staff cannot exempt them from it ourselves. All policy documents that we've worked on, we heard people today talking about pedestrian safety and sidewalks. This is something that's been a big issue over the past 5 years or so, ever since we've adopted Elevate. Also, in the metropolitan plan, it's a big issue. Complete streets, it's a big issue. It's been something we've talked about for years. So staff is very much aware that that's what the direction of City Council, that's the direction we're trying to go. Against the idea that having sidewalks doesn't work around truck stops, we have 2 truck stops that have sidewalks that go around the outside over on the corner of Alameda and, Amador and Motel, and they function just fine. So it's not like we can't do it. We could figure out a way to do it, and we'd probably have to come up with some alternatives. But on the other hand, I could see why we might not want to do it. There are some difficulties. There's some safety issues that might be at issue. And if you wish to grant the variance, or if you wish to grant the variance along Robert Larson, but require them to build the sidewalk along Crawford, that would also be a good option. But in any case, if you're going to take either of those options, we very much would like you to direct us, what do you want to modify in the Innovation and Industrial Park code? Do we want to have sidewalks only along Crawford? Do we want to have sidewalks everywhere? Do we want to wait on sidewalks until we rebuild those roads when we can do a better job? What's the wishes of the City Council? And so I'll leave you with that you can vote yes, which would approve, and keeping in mind, in this case, that means they do not need to build the sidewalks. Yes is a vote for no sidewalks. No is a vote that they must build the sidewalks. Amend, you could make whatever recommendations you'd like to do, and then obviously you can table it. And I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Pitts. See, this is why we always ask clarification on the yes/no votes, because they're confusing. Yes means no sidewalks.
Correct.
No means yes sidewalks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yes, we'll go to Councilor Graham and then Councilor Flores.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Pitts. Can you please go back to the overhead, the aerial view where you had superimposed, yes. Maybe one before?
Yeah, that was the first
Okay,
one.
yeah, I guess this is it. So understanding the importance of encouraging walking infrastructure, but also asking when and where it makes sense. So I'm kind of looking at sidewalks to nowhere. There's, so yes, I see the sidewalks along the frontage road. I understand. Well, let me ask, and I don't know if this is information you would have just off the bat, how many employees, business owners in the Innovation and Industrial Park actually kind of walk over here? Is there?
I wouldn't.
I mean, is it
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Graham? I wouldn't know how many walk, and of course, if there's no sidewalk, that might impact whether they would walk or not. I'm going to guess very few.
Okay.
And just as a general rule, I know in my days when I used to work in development, our rule of thumb was 600 feet was the longest we would expect an average person to walk, that you would voluntarily go 600 feet. If it was more than that, you just wouldn't. So it's basically from the farthest car in a Walmart parking lot to the front door. That's about as far as a person will generally walk for transportation purposes. They might do it for longer to walk their dog or do something like that. But and one other thing I'll mention about the Loves is proposing to have a dog park. So if you're coming, there will be things within the site to walk to. And you don't necessarily have to be walking out on the freeway with your dog trying to get it to do its business. You'll have a place to do that.
Thank you so much, because that was actually a question that I had in my mind also when I'm thinking about, when you walk around a facility like this, and I often travel with dogs, and yeah, dogs are there for a bathroom break. And I love the idea that there's going to be a dedicated area for that as opposed to just kind of wandering out into the desert. And then final question, I'm intrigued that 60-day sidewalks can be ordered, but I am curious, can one build a sidewalk in 60 days, or is that just something has to be started? Is this like 90-day fiance? Does this happen a lot faster than I think?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Graham, you're absolutely right. There is no way that someone could realistically get a
Tony
contractor
Trevino, could
to
you have
do
been
this.
building sidewalks in
Tony could do
60
that.
days this entire time? Okay, so that 60-day would be in terms of getting things going.
Yes.
But that is an intriguing portion of our odd and very arcane authority that I would love to hear more about in the future. If that's something, I don't know if that's something you could provide information, maybe send to Christine to distribute to all of us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Pitts. Why do you come to us for this question when the code already says that there should be sidewalks? And the reason I'm asking, it's almost rhetorical, because I don't think I'm going to get a straight answer, with all due respect. Are you familiar with the the Industrial Innovation Park plans?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, I am aware.
Okay.
If you would like me to answer your first question?
Well, if you think you can, sure.
Yes, because they have due process to ask for relief from any section of code.
Okay. And you don't have even though you have a code that says that, you can't say, no, that's what the code says. Somehow we're put into a position of arbitrating that. Yeah?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, yes.
Okay. So my question is, first of all, I think that we should adhere to the code, and the reason is because the Industrial Innovation Park has a plan, And if you recall, it'll go down, it won't go down, I don't know if it'll go to Crawford, but it will definitely, well, Crawford runs perpendicular to the airport, between the airport and Highway 10, Interstate 10, right? Straight line. But then that other road, the frontage road, and I believe that the plan, the long-term plan, because I don't think I'm going to see it in my lifetime, but the long-term plan is that that industrial park, innovative park, is to enhance the airline travel, to enhance, just make it more attractive. And the plan for that that area is absolutely beautiful. And so I think that having sidewalks and having businesses adhere to the code make a lot of sense. And the part that you said about like Crawford, somehow if you have a sidewalk there, it'll flood or whatever. It seems to me that's an engineering issue. But I think it makes sense to apply the code, go by the code, and I think that that whole area will be a lot more attractive and walkable. And we're encouraging walking. You know, we have, and then for people who are traveling, it might be a way, you know, if it's a connection or waiting for another flight, they can walk that area. Because my understanding is that our airport one day will definitely be at least intrastate and get more traffic. So I'm definitely against giving that code. Going against the code. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Flores. Any other thoughts? Yes, Councillor McClure.
Hi, Dr. Pitts. I had a couple of questions. I would actually be more interested in amending. I don't see a lot of utility for having it on the frontage road, but I do see it as a way to make that area say what we value, and if we do value streets with sidewalks, that'd be great. But that said, if we are going to be rebuilding it, what's kind of the timeline on that? I wouldn't want to throw taxpayer money into, say, doing curbs and gutter if this is something that is in the near future. So if you could kind of give me a sense of that, because I would say that the Crawford, if Allsup's is going to be doing it, they can do that as well. And then that would also enhance a little bit what that looks like for those coming to invest in our city.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor McClure, I do not believe this is on the radar in the in your capital improvement program. I think we'd be way out in terms of the city building anything out here. I don't think we're in any position, there's no need. The roads are really quite, I don't know if you've driven out there, but they're in quite good condition.
Just to add a little bit to Councilor Graham's question, I did a series of stories out there, and a lot of people actually do walk to Subway, and they were actually kind of sad that there's not more options than Subway. So I do think that there is, especially with the cheese factory, that there are people who would be walking if they had sidewalks. So personally, I would say that an amendment just for Crawford, and then considering curb and gutter to protect people, would be something we should be doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McClure. I have some questions as well. And honestly, I was thinking the exact same thing regarding the frontage road, potentially not needing a sidewalk. What gives me pause on Crawford is that Allsup's is saying, yeah, we will do that. What also gives me pause is that we just redid this whole master plan for the industrial and innovation park, right? And what I keep hearing from staff and from Avita is that sometimes people are sort of walking away because there's lack of infrastructure. And my whole thing this whole time has been, well, why doesn't the developer create the infrastructure? And so I understand that some of that is on us and some of that should be our responsibility. However, if we are trying to make this industrial park something that is thriving and exciting, and sure, maybe not a lot of people will walk to work there because it's kind of far and uphill. Maybe we'll have public transit that goes out there and people will be able to walk on their lunchtime. or whatever. I'm curious, though, if the master plan talks about complete streets. Not just our complete streets ordinance, but does the master plan for the innovation park talk about this kind of infrastructure? And I see economic development staff whispering, but they're coming.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. My name is Elizabeth Teeters, for the record. So the Innovation Industrial Park Master Plan, it just refers back to the code. However, there is a recommendation in it that states that consideration should be made to put it into the capital improvement to do sidewalks and work like this.
Okay, thank you. So on curb and gutter, are any other developers responsible for curb and gutter?
Mayor Pro Tem, if they were building the road, they would be required to. But the sidewalk chapter is kind of the standalone thing that just says, it just talks about sidewalks. Since they are not subdividing or building the road, they're not required to do it. That's usually in the subdivision process that takes place. But the city went through and subdivided all this land out here.
Okay.
And then we built the roads back in the 90s.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if the responsibility now is on the city to build curb and gutter, and maybe in the future, 10 years, I don't know how many years away that would be, what would if these developers then build a sidewalk, would that sidewalk be damaged?
Mayor Pro Tem, along Crawford, I don't believe there's any danger of the sidewalk itself being damaged by I mean, there's already concrete there. We have sidewalks like that in other neighborhoods in the city that are the sidewalk just is flush with the curb, and it's flush straight out. So it's just a flat flat area. So we could do that without any. They would just put down the sidewalk. Along Robert Larson, it would be a little harder, and I don't know if Mike has any ideas of how we would do it.
That's okay, I'm not totally
Or
interested.
Tony could talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay, I'm not totally sold that there needs to be a sidewalk on that frontage road, but Tony Trevino with Public Works wants to come up to the mic.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, Tony Trevino for the record. The way that the Industrial and Innovation Park was designed initially was with no curb and gutter. There's no on-site drainage systems to convey this water anywhere else. So if we were to begin putting curb and gutter along Loves and the other side, we will have to have a place to divert that water downstream, which we don't have right now. This road was designed to do on-site ponding on, like mentioned before, it is a rural roadway for ponding on the side of the road.
Okay, would there be, and I generally try to stay away from this term, but would there be any unintended consequences that you foresee if we say, yeah, let's move forward with sidewalks along Crawford regarding drainage issues?
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, as long as the impervious area, increased impervious area is calculated into the ponding area, no.
I don't totally know what that means, Tony.
So the amount of concrete, so it's going to take away from the percolation of the runoff of the rain with the added concrete. So as long as the ponding on the side of the roadways and on the property are adjusted and revised to accommodate that additional water, then there will be no consequences from the additional runoff.
Okay, thank you, Tony. And I guess so if we're talking about sort of this internal road for the internal part of the park, I do feel like if we start saying no to one, we're gonna have to, we said then a precedent for then the remaining lots where people will come in and want to do development. And if we said no to one, then why wouldn't we say no to another? And I don't want to see that. We're already experiencing so much of that on the East Mesa where we are correcting the wrongs of people in our past. And so I think we have a chance to do something different. So at least I'm in favor of an amendment, Councillor McClure. I'll allow you to make that after comments and if anybody has any more questions.
Mayor Pro Tem, unless you have more questions for us,
Okay.
we were just talking about how we can do it, that's all.
Okay. By code, are we able to make this kind of amendment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Are there any other questions or discussions on this?
I'd just like to make a comment, please. Go ahead. My comment on this is that when you go into an area that doesn't have sidewalks, and whether it's the industrial park, whether it's a frontage road, and since that area is being, there's a plan for it, there's a plan for growth in that area. We already have, the aerial shows and all that once or twice a year, whatever. I think that when you don't have sidewalks in an area, it's like not having roads. It really diminishes the look, the value, just the spirit of the place. So I think I'm going to vote on this, Dr. Pitts. But thank you for your presentation.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, I'll just comment on the issue about the airport side. Economic Development is planning on bringing back the Las Cruces Innovation and Industrial Park Code to, what do you want to say it? After we've worked with it for a couple of years, we find some things to be difficult to accomplish, and so we're going to probably bring that back to modify it anyway. And so what I think that we are going to be recommending is that definitely on the northern side, the side next to the airport, so where Crawford, where all those trees are on Crawford, when you're going north, that area be developed fully. Anybody develop sidewalks, curb and gutter, we'll do the whole thing. But to the south side down here, we are not as sure what city council wants. So whether we're going to do it all the same down here, we can do that too. It's just that's really what we're asking for direction. If you're not going to vote no on this, we would like direction on that. I mean, are we talking, hey, let's get the sidewalks on Crawford, maybe not on the frontage road, which is a perfectly reasonable approach, or we say we want them everywhere. We do that elsewhere. We do that, for instance, along Hadley, where it also was not built to accommodate sidewalks, and it's a very difficult thing to get sidewalks in because the road isn't built in such a way that you can put a sidewalk in and it just work.
Well, in Hadley, you can't even get two cars. The one down here, it's like you wonder how people get in and out of their driveways. But I have a question for Elizabeth Teeters. Thank you, Ms. Teeters, for accommodating me. So insofar as the southern part of innovation, that area, is it going to be different than what's on the other side of the airport? I mean, that closer to the airport. Is it going to be used for different purposes?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, yes. So there's multiple zonings, so there's going to be multiple uses at the industrial park. Right along Crawford on the north side of I-10, so from I-10 to the airport is a commercial corridor. So it will have, the ideal is like restaurants and hotels, that kind of thing, and so that's where you would generally see sidewalks. Now, other than where the small area where Love's is and Allsup's is going, and I think there's a few more small parcels around there, those are the only commercial lots on the southern part. The rest is all industrial. So that's why we're thinking maybe a different recommendation for the southern part of the park, because we don't necessarily, like Mayor Pro Tem was saying about setting precedent, we don't want to necessarily set precedent to put sidewalks in an industrial facility. We want to be able to have flexibility to be able to help bring in a business.
So no sidewalks, and so those are drive-up type of businesses, right? like Love's and Alsop's? What are they? They're like Love's is a truck stop,
They're both
right?
truck stops.
Yeah, they're both. So for truck drivers and travelers, they can deal with no sidewalks. Is that pretty much the feel? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Teeters. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. This is interesting. Just to your point, Ms. Teeters, I guess I also feel like even if it's industrial, we're talking big warehouses, I don't know, right? People will still work there, right? People will still want to go get a delicious all-subs burrito eventually. And so I'm just wondering, like, we want to build this place that will have people at it, right? 8 to 5, maybe on the weekends. Like, there will be a lot of people moving throughout the park is the hope, correct? And so everybody's nodding yes for the record. And so I guess I'm just wondering if this deserves a longer conversation, because it seems like I at least feel like I'm getting a bit of a contradictory information or recommendations regarding sidewalk improvements at the industrial park and what we hope it looks like in the future. I just don't want to piecemeal this.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think that what you're getting is the ambivalence we feel about this application. That on the one hand, we agree with Councilor Flores that build the sidewalks. It says build sidewalks, build sidewalks. On the other hand, it's probably, I mean, I'm just throwing out a number, but it's probably $150,000 to build the sidewalk. That's a big investment for somebody and if that's the difference between them choosing to come here or not, are we really that? I mean, I guess that's where I think we have our ambivalence.
No, I mean, Dr. Pitts, I feel like, if I want you to come here, I want you to make an investment in our community that matters to the people who are working there. That's at least where I stand anyway.
And Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not sure if the applicant is here. I don't know if they came or if they're wishing to speak. So I just wanted to give them that opportunity if they are.
Is the applicant here? No. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess there's two options on the table right now around making an amendment or tabling it to a different point so we can continue having a conversation on sidewalks at the industrial park. Gosh, I just love local government so much. But I just want to give an opportunity for the council to respond. Councilor Matisse.
Mayor Pro Tem, in listening to the engineering complication of doing the sidewalk, I guess that's on Robert Larson, that would be quite an engineering feat, and it might exceed even the $150,000. And you still have mud and sand covering that sidewalk after the first rainfall. And, they just might chuckle on the disappearing sidewalk unless someone comes out there and actually is responsible to take that mud and sand off that sidewalk. So I support the amendment. I think we could handle the Crawford section pretty easily.
Thank you. Councilor Matisse. Yes, Ms. Teeters.
Mayor Pro Tem, on your comment to not wanting to piecemeal it, as Dr. Pitts had mentioned, my department is going in and looking at the overlay zone right now, and because it's been in place for a few years, so we're noticing as we're getting development, there's certain things we're finding we could potentially have to constantly bring variances and whatnot, so we're planning on making an amendment. An idea would be to bring it to a work session when we come up with our suggestions to have a further discussion on what could or could not work, or what you would recommend that we do so that we're following the will of City Council.
Thank you for that. That just leaves sort of, if we decide to do that, that just leaves the question of the applicant, and does that leave them with any timeline constraints?
Mayor Pro Tem, keeping in mind the requirement is that they have this in place before their before their occupancy, their certificate of occupancy. That's the last item. They're gonna be done with everything. And in the code, it does allow for timing to be varied. It does require it by C of O, but it does, we have in the past made agreements with people to say, well, we'll issue a TCO, a temporary certificate of occupancy, and then you could do the sidewalk later on. So I don't know, I mean, I'm sure that the applicant wants to know because it goes into their pro forma and whether this is a profitable venture or not, but at the same time, I mean, I think the worst case, they should be operating under a worst case scenario that they would have to build it, and then they might get relief after you. That's the way I would recommend to them to view it. That we're going to table, if you're going to table this, if that's what you're looking to do, that we table it, come back with whatever amendments economic development is working towards, and maybe we can come up with a plan that works a little better. Because one of the things we could do is the city can always participate in any of these things. We could build the curb and gutter and they build the sidewalk and get around the engineering issues and so on. We can always contribute, but we can't do it right now because it's not in our CIP for this year.
So you're saying there is some flexibility in timing. We're not putting too much.
It's going to take them a good year to get this this building built.
Okay, great. Back to council, if we table this for, I don't know if date specific, I guess that would be difficult, but knowing that we will have a work session specifically on the industrial park, honestly, on all the needs of the industrial park, but certainly what we hope it looks like in the future. Is that something where, am I allowed to ask that? I don't know the rules sometimes. Okay. How do you all feel about that? Yes, Councilor Flores.
Well, again, I know that, I know Devin Lopez has pretty much told us that the city, that it's difficult for him to get businesses to come to Las Cruces. And I see that whole area having so much potential, and I just don't in any way, and I still stand by my opinion, my view, that when you have streets and sidewalks, it just adds a lot of, there's just a lot of value. It looks like a city really has it together, and. So if we do have a presentation, Madam Chair, I would ask that it include the innovative industrial park, and the slides that go with it, or the presentation that was certainly given to me, or those of us on the with the airport advisory board. I think it's good to just look at the big picture. And not, it's like baking a cake and saying, well, I'll just put the eggs in later. Well, it's going to be a horrible cake. Or I'll do the icing later. And then it turns out the cake itself has dried up. So that's, maybe not a very good whatever, but I think that we have to look at everything holistically and in terms of planning in the future. And I guess, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other counselors would like to talk about this? Nobody else? Okay. The suggestion could be a work session for this in June, and we table this to July 15th.
Move to table to date definite of July 15th. Graham.
Thank you.
Second by Flores.
Thank you. Discussion? No. Christine.
This is on the motion to table Resolution 24-098 to July 15, 2024. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you. Okay, that is all our resolutions for today. We have board appointments. The following appointments need to be voted on. We have Steve Newby for the CIC reappointment. We'll need a motion and a second.
Move to approve, Corin.
Second, Graham.
Thank you.
This is on the motion to reappoint Steve Newby to the CIAC. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Coran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor's absent.
Thank you, Christine. Notice of proposed ordinances. There will be no public discussion on these. A counselor may ask staff for clarification on the proposed ordinances. 10.1, Council Bill number 24-023, ordinance number 3065, an ordinance approving a zone change from R4C, multi-dwelling, high-density, and limited retail and office conditional, to R4, multi-dwelling, high-density, limited retail and office for property encompassing 2.908 plus acres and located at 712 and 722 Hendy Place and 725 Basha Arc, submitted by M&M Building Solutions representative, period.
Bring it forward.
Thank you. That is it for notices of proposed ordinances. Number 11, City Council Member Board reports and comments. Councilor McClure.
I don't have too much this week, but I did want to share something. We talk a lot about where the unhoused come from. And I just got an email this week from someone whose rent went up from $825 to $1,200. And I wonder about that. And I wonder, given that he's on fixed income with a disabled wife, how do we treat that within our society? And that's all I'm going to say. I was just kind of disheartened by that this week. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McClure. Councilor Matisse? Pass. Okay. Councilor Grant?
Yeah, I don't think I better. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Councilor Corin?
Thank you. I will be quick, but I just want to give a quick shout out of appreciation for the Realize Las Cruces Technical Advisory Committee and all of the staff that worked really hard to, I know it's been a years-long process, but to update our zoning codes. I've been so excited, and I've been reading it enthusiastically. It does not, Dr. Pitts, it doesn't put me to sleep at night. I love it. And I'm so excited to see some of the changes that are included in there and to see how that will change a number of things, both how we work in terms of having to constantly be revisiting things from the deeply outdated 2001 codes, but also how it's looking forward to our future needs in terms of safety and housing and sustainability. So it is open for public comment through early April, so I urge folks who are interested in the development code to dig into it. It might put you to sleep, or you might be nerdy like I am and get really jazzed about it. So please do check out the Realize Las Cruces documents that are available online and provide feedback. There's a feedback option within that. So there's also a summary of major changes, so if you're curious about what kinds of things happen in zoning code, that's probably the place to start. So thank you to all the staff that worked really hard on that, the consultants and the community folks who have given a lot of input in that. So that's all.
Thank you. Wow, moving through these quickly. Councilor Flores, pressure's on.
Yeah. I just want to report on a couple of things, well, a few things. I want to thank Chris Favor from the bottom of my heart and the Economic Development Department. There was a meeting here, was it Thursday? Thursday. And the New Mexico Finance Authority presented, to the public. The turnout wasn't as big as we thought it would be, but it was bigger. No, it was as big as you thought, Chris, but I thought turnout was pretty good. And there were numerous calls to you and numerous calls to the Finance Authority. And what the Finance Authority does is help businesses. They help, and Max Bauer attended, and another gentleman. And Max Bauer actually gave him a tour of the Amador, and I joined them in that tour. But the point, though, is that they help people a lot. And recently, there was just all this money it was through ARPA. That's why there was so much money. They actually assisted people in buying homes, just out and out buying a house with land. And that ARPA money has been pretty much used up, but there is a number that the public can call to see if there's any money left over. I know that our city has restrictions on, not restrictions, but guidelines and deadlines, but the number you can call is 505-308-4206, or you can, and that's a general number for that. And if there's anybody interested in starting a business, they'll give you the money. It's just that simple. I mean, there's different, it's a little bit more complex, actually. It's not that simple, but if you have a plan and it's viable, there's a way that you can have your business set up. And the person to contact there would be Mark Montoya at 505-629-5078, or his email, mmontoya@nmf.net. So yeah, those are you can call to get help. You can call to see if there's any money left over for people who weren't able to get money for whatever, loans, whatever, insurance on a house. They can direct you, let you know if they still have that money or not. The other good news is that due to the opioid settlement, the city, this was brought against pharmaceuticals and pharmacies. So I think I can't remember all the parties, but it was big, the places we go to locally. And anyway, the share that the city got was $10 million. It's still unspent. I know that Assistant City Manager Ikani presented to the Finance Select Committee when we still existed as to possibilities to use that money. The City Council will make the final determination, but I just wanted to let people know that we will be making a decision on how to use some of that money, 3.4, with and then the remaining 6.5 million. The rest will filter in through 2038, the year 2038. The point that Yoli brought up, Yoli Diaz, the crusader for cancer patients, and the lack of medical care is really outrageous. I mean, here we are, one of the most powerful nations in the world, and one of the few, if not the only, first world country that doesn't provide health care. I mean, you go to France and you go to England, you go to just about any city in Europe, even South America, Canada, where they do have insurance or health insurance for people. So anyway, but MMC has been, there are questionable, their practices are questionable, and I hope that we get some clear answers from them. And a gentleman gave me, there's money, there was a passage of SB 17 that I'm not familiar with, but apparently there's a lot of money there also, but you'd have to talk to Representative Doreen Yvonne Gallegos. She always uses her middle name because she likes mine so much. Anyway, that's all I have for now, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Flores. All right, I'll try to move through these pieces quickly. So first up is that I want to announce that I have two upcoming spring open houses for District 4. I'm taking a book from Counselor Graham's approach on community meetings that she did last year, and I think the feedback was really positive, so I'm going to try that. And so really what it means is just an open house. Come in anytime between 4:30 and 6:30, talk to myself, talk to specific departments that will be there. The most highly requested services are from Public Works, from Codes, the LCPD will be there. We'll have other departments that you can come and just directly go to them and talk to them about your concerns. I will be there, constituent services will be there. So it won't be so much me talking at you, presentation style community meeting. It'll be, like I said, more of this style open house. So the first one is going to be Tuesday, April 2nd from 4:30 to 6:30 at the WIA building near Pioneer Park. It is the newest part of District 4, so we will be meeting there. And the second one is April 9th, also a Tuesday from 4:30 to 6:30 at Picacho Middle School. So you don't have to come to both. They'll be the exact same format. But I guess if you didn't get all your stuff into department, you can come back the second time. But very excited. We'll be working with PIO to release all the information, and it'll be on my social media as well in case you forget. Hopefully we'll be sending out mailers as well. And so I just really want to thank Katrina and Grace for all of their help in setting these up. And I'm very excited for these to be my first two community meetings of 2024. So that's number one. I think given that we are hearing more and more speeding related issues, I know that we had a conversation a while ago about the potential to bringing in some tools. I think, unfortunately, I think we need to revisit that conversation. Not so much, I think, what was necessarily presented last time, more so of the mobile units, but I do think we need to revisit it. I think it is a pretty serious issue all across the city. Another piece I want to bring to staff's attention and to my colleagues is that municipal court, well, several things here. The position for Judge 2 is posted. So if you know a person who would make an excellent judge who is committed to then running for that position in the future, have them apply. I think it's still open. I hope it is, but we will be making that decision soon to help Judge Vilosa do a lot of the things that we have set forth as priority for municipal court. One of the other things that has come to my attention, if you go on section 1-11, court cost and collections, there are several pieces in here that talk about court fees, and section C in particularly is very concerning, and I believe it is creating a debtor's court. I think this is a piece of the code that we should look at potentially removing, but I think it's an important conversation to happen potentially at a work session, and that should come to us soon. I also know that state mandated fees, I think $29 state mandated fees are going away July 1st. I am not someone who would advocate for fees at a place like municipal court because I think it creates, again, debtor's court. But I would like to understand the impact that this might have on municipal court, on services, on any of those things, and if there are ways to either meet those fees a different way, or if there are, I do believe that there are currently people who cannot pay, can sign up to do community service. But again, I think this creates this sort of system of people who have and people who don't. So I think all of these are important conversation, and I do just want to note that July 1st, though, some of those mandated state fees are going away. But I would like for us to have more of a discussion on that. It's also my understanding that the ESL classes at the library are no longer happening, which I had heard someone say that they were super sad about that because they were great classes and offered at really flexible times. And so I would love to know why that is, and if that's a matter of funding, or I just would love to know why I would really advocate that we have that service for our community. And then the last thing I want to talk about, I think, let me just double check my list, is I met with Family Lutheran Services a couple of weeks ago, and they are the organization here that is tasked with receiving and welcoming refugees. So these are people who are coming to the United States with already a lawful state immigration status. And many of them don't stay in our community for many things, lack of community, lack of opportunity, but many of them want to. Many of those refugee families want to stay in Las Cruces, and many of them are having a hard time finding work because they left their homes, usually war-torn countries, devastating situations. In that situation, you don't really think about, I'm gonna grab my certificate from high school or my college diploma, right? Like those are really difficult situations, and so people come here, and I really would love to work with staff on perhaps creating a pilot program for, they have people who are looking for work, and the city has a lot of openings in a lot of departments, working to see if we can do some sort of refugee work program that allows people to make a good living, to support their families. Many are coming with children and their families, and so I would love to see if there's an opportunity for that, because they've tried to apply for jobs here, but often there's that high school diploma piece that is limiting them. And so I would really love to work with staff on seeing if we can create some sort of work program specifically with this organization. Anyway, thank you. I don't, Mayor Enriquez didn't ask me to say why he was gone, so I didn't, but I will let everyone know that he's visiting family. So I think that's an important note to make. Yes, Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, what is it I want to say?
Time's up.
Oh, this is terrible. Anyway, oh, I know. This is for Larry Nichols. Larry, Mr. Nichols, Community Development. And I'm glad that Dr. Pitts is here. What's happened to the name, the change of the street, the one that has that horrible, I have a very dear friend who's Native American who has asked me, or indigenous, who's asked me about that name change, and I believe it hasn't been done. Didn't we agree that it was going to be done? Or did you follow the process?
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, Larry Nichols, Community Development. Your question, Councilor Flores, I've been visiting with my department and with the Assistant City Manager, Aikani, to, I think you brought that question before him. What's happened to the street name change after the decision was rendered? I think it's been over a year and a half now or more. And basically...
It's been about 2 years, Mr. Nichols.
Yes,
it's been a year and a half since we last spoke about it.
Yes.
And that was in December of 2022.
Yes. There has been no further action on that item.
Why not? I mean, there's a process to go through, and that wasn't followed, and is it going to be done? It's an embarrassment to us as a city to not take corrective measures. Yes. Why hasn't it been done? What happened?
What happened during that conversation, the residents of the street, I think there were 20 of them, that street is about, I think, a block and a half long.
A block.
And they, the 20 residents came before and discussed it with council, stating that they
Mr. Nichols, I don't want to rehash all of this. Is it okay if you all to connect and then bring it back?
I want this on the record, and the reason is because for someone to have asked for this, in our community and not to have an answer, I don't want to convey an answer that, well, I'd like to hear in just a few words, Mr. Nichols, and thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging me, but this is something that is very concerning to me and should be to the entire city.
Yes.
Did the letters go out to them? Was there something done and just giving them notice? What happened?
one of the items that happened, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Flores, was
I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm going to have to, this is a policy item that's not on the agenda, and so we can't talk about it. So I would encourage you to talk to our assistant city manager.
Okay, so it's on the record that it has been brought up and we can't discuss it. But I hope that I'll get an answer from you, Mr. Nichols, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Yes,
no,
ma'am.
that's not true. I'm so sorry. Wow, I'm so sorry. It's her first time, and I almost robbed you of the opportunity to give us an update. Sonia, I am so sorry. Please go on with city manager updates.
It's okay. I've been bombarded with information, so I have to share it. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, Sonia Delgado, Assistant City Manager, sitting in for Mr. Ifo Peely, our City Manager. So I do have a few comments. So first off, I'll start with some of our members of the Las Cruces Fire Department who took on the ultimate challenge at the Baton Memorial Death March this past weekend, did a phenomenal job. We had approximately 12 of them, and also with our retired fire chief, Travis Brown. I thought that was really cool. But we had 2 awards that came through. One individual civilian female heavy first place was Kristen Whalen. I hope I got that right. And then our team civilian male heavy first place, we had Charles Roybal, Michael Medina, Forrest Powell, Jesse Johnson, and Robert Lopez. LCD did a fantastic job, so I really appreciate them taking participating in that. And then I'll be sending this information over to Mandy and our communications team to send that out. So congratulations, everyone. Thank you. I also have some information from Parks and Recreation. Friendly reminder that the Apodaca Park pool demolition began on-site work 2 weeks ago and will last approximately 2 months. This morning, the skate park contractors commenced demolition on Hadley and Walnut. The new skate park rebuild is anticipated to be completed later this year. And the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new playground replacement at A Fielder Memorial Safe Haven will take place this Friday, March 22nd, from 3 to 5 p.m. Also, Realize Las Cruces from Community Development. The initial draft of the revised development code is now available for public review and comment, and it is posted online. The initial comment period will be from Wednesday, will run through Friday, April 5th, and the working draft and public comments can be accessed and submitted at www.realizelascruces.com. And last but not least, we have Public Works on our pavement management system. We do have a crack seal project that is taking place. It will start March 27th and run through May 22nd, approximately 40 working days, and we have approximately 48 streets. So if you're interested, I can send those to you, and I won't go through each one of them this afternoon. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Yes, please do send those to us, and you did great. Thank you. That was a great update. Okay, we're done, right? Okay, thank you.
Move to adjourn, Graham.
Second, Corin.
Thank you.
This is on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Coran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor's absent.